Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you that the biggest battle of your life is not happening in the outside world? It's not your job, your finances, your competition, or even your circumstances. The biggest battle is happening right now inside your mind. And the question is this: when life hits you with disappointment, failure, rejection, and pain, will you break or will you become stronger? Because the truth is, life doesn't get easier. Challenges don't disappear. The storms don't stop. The only thing that can change is you. And when you become mentally unbreakable, no obstacle can stop you from creating the life you deserve. What if the one thing holding you back from success isn't a lack of talent, money, opportunities, or resources? What if the real obstacle is the conversation happening inside your head right now? Think about it. Every breakthrough begins in the mind. Every achievement is born from a thought. Every dream that becomes reality starts as an idea that someone refused to give up on. Before you can master your career, your finances, your relationships, or your future, you must first master the most powerful force you possess, your mind. Most people spend their lives fighting battles on the outside while completely ignoring the battle taking place within. They blame circumstances, complain about challenges, and wish life were easier. But the people who rise above adversity understand a different truth. They know that life is not controlled by what happens to them. It is controlled by the meaning they give to what happens. The strongest individuals are not always the most talented. They are not always the smartest. They are often the people who have learned how to control their thoughts when everyone else is losing control of theirs. Have you ever wondered why two people can face the exact same setback and produce completely different results? One person experiences failure and decides that they are not good enough. The other experiences failure and decides that they need to grow stronger. One gives up, the other pushes forward. The event is the same. The difference is the mindset. One mind creates excuses, the other creates possibilities. Your mind is like a powerful operating system. Whatever instructions you feed it consistently, it will work tirelessly to prove them true. If you constantly tell yourself that you're unlucky, incapable, or destined to fail, your brain will begin searching for evidence to support those beliefs. You'll notice every mistake, every setback, and every obstacle. But if you train yourself to focus on growth, resilience, and opportunity, your mind will begin identifying solutions, strengths, and possibilities that were always there, but previously hidden by negative thinking. Here's the challenge. Most people don't control their thoughts. Their thoughts control them. They wake up and immediately start worrying about problems. They replay past failures. They imagine worst-case scenarios. They allow fear to dictate their decisions. Without realizing it, they become prisoners of their own minds. And the most dangerous prison in the world is the one that doesn't look like a prison at all. The voice inside your head has incredible power. It can build you up or it can tear you down. It can convince you to take action or it can convince you to stay stuck. It can transform challenges into opportunities, or it can transform opportunities into reasons to be afraid. Every day, that voice is shaping your reality. The question is, are you consciously directing that voice, or are you allowing it to run on autopilot? Mentally strong people understand that not every thought deserves attention. They recognize that fear is often just a prediction, not a fact. Doubt is an emotion, not evidence. Anxiety is often imagination working against you instead of for you. They learn to separate what is real from what is merely a story created by the mind. Instead of automatically believing every negative thought, they challenge it, they question it, they refuse to let temporary emotions become permanent beliefs. Imagine how different your life would be if you stopped treating every obstacle as proof that you can't succeed and started treating it as proof that you're growing. Imagine the confidence you would develop if every challenge became an opportunity to strengthen your character. Imagine the momentum you could create if you replace self-criticism with self-discipline and fear with focused action. The truth is that your future is being shaped by what you repeatedly think about today. Every thought plants a seed. Some seeds grow into confidence, courage, and success. Others grow into fear, doubt, and limitation. The quality of your thinking determines the quality of your actions, and the quality of your actions determines the quality of your life. That's why the most successful people on the planet are extremely protective of their mindset. They don't allow negativity to dominate their focus. They don't let setbacks define their identity. They understand that while they cannot always control external events, they can always control their internal response. That internal response, becomes their source of strength when circumstances become difficult. The moment you realize that your mind is not your master but your servant, everything begins to change. You stop reacting automatically. You start thinking intentionally. You stop giving power to fear. You start giving power to purpose. You stop focusing on what could go wrong. You start focusing on what is possible. And when that shift happens, you become a person who is no longer controlled by circumstances, but empowered by mindset, capable of standing firm in the face of pressure and moving forward regardless of the challenges that appear in your path. What if the very thing you're trying to avoid is actually the thing that could transform your life? What if your greatest source of strength is hidden inside the pain you've been running from? Most people spend their lives doing everything possible to avoid discomfort, failure, rejection, and heartbreak. They believe that a successful life is a life without pain, but the truth is far different. Pain is not the enemy. Pain is often the greatest teacher you will ever have. The people who become mentally unbreakable are not the ones who avoid suffering. They are the ones who learn how to turn suffering into strength. Think about every great success story you've ever heard. Behind every achievement, there is a chapter filled with struggle. Behind every victory, there is a season of adversity. Behind every confident, successful person, there was a time when they doubted themselves, failed repeatedly, and faced obstacles that seemed impossible to overcome. Success leaves clues, and one of the biggest clues is this: growth is almost always born from discomfort. The problem is that most people misunderstand pain. They see it as punishment instead of preparation. When something goes wrong, they immediately ask, why is this happening to me? They feel defeated before the battle is even over, but mentally strong people ask a different question. They ask, what is this trying to teach me? That single shift in perspective changes everything. The moment you stop seeing pain as something that is happening to you and start seeing it as something that is happening for you, your entire mindset begins to transform. Have you ever noticed how some people crumble under pressure while others seem to become stronger? The difference isn't that one person experiences less pain. The difference is how they interpret it. One person sees obstacles as proof that they should quit. The other sees obstacles as proof that they are being challenged to grow. One person focuses on the struggle. The other focuses on the lesson. The same event creates completely different outcomes because of the meaning attached to it. Life has a way of testing every single person. There will be moments when your plans fall apart. There will be times when people disappoint you. There will be seasons when you work hard and see little reward. There will be failures that shake your confidence and setbacks that make you question everything. Those moments are not signs that you're on the wrong path. In many cases, they are signs that you're being prepared for something greater. Consider how strength is built in the physical world. Muscles don't grow when they're comfortable. They grow when they're challenged, stretched, and pushed beyond their current limits. The same principle applies to the mind. Mental toughness is not developed during easy times. It is developed during difficult times. Every challenge you overcome strengthens your confidence. Every setback you survive increases your resilience. Every obstacle you face successfully becomes evidence that you are stronger than you once believed. One of the most powerful habits you can develop is the ability to extract value from every painful experience. Instead of asking what you lost, ask what you learned. Instead of focusing on what went wrong, focus on what can be improved. Every disappointment contains a lesson. Every failure contains feedback. Every difficult experience contains wisdom that can help you become better, stronger, and more prepared for future challenges. Many people allow painful experiences to define them. They let one failure convince them that they are failures. They let one rejection convince them that they are not worthy. They let one setback destroy years of confidence. But mentally unbreakable people refuse to allow temporary events to determine their identity. They understand that failure is something that happens. It is not something they are. They separate their self-worth from their circumstances. Imagine what would happen if you stopped fearing pain and started respecting it. Imagine approaching every challenge with the belief that there is something valuable waiting to be discovered on the other side. Imagine viewing every setback as training rather than tragedy. Suddenly, obstacles lose their power to intimidate you. Difficulties no longer feel like roadblocks. They become stepping stones. The strongest people are not those who have lived easy lives. They are often the people who have endured the hardest battles and refused to surrender. They have learned that pain can either break you or build you, depending on how you respond to it. They understand that every struggle carries the potential for growth. Every challenge carries the potential for strength, and every setback carries the potential for a comeback. Instead of allowing pain to become a reason to stop, they use it as fuel to keep moving forward, becoming stronger, wiser, and more determined with every challenge they face. What if I told you that fear is not the thing stopping you from achieving greatness? What if the real problem is not fear itself, but your response to it? Think about this for a moment. Every successful person you've ever admired has felt fear. Every entrepreneur, athlete, leader, and high achiever has faced uncertainty, doubt, and anxiety. The difference is not that they were fearless. The difference is that they acted anyway. They understood a truth that most people never learn. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is taking action despite fear. How many opportunities have been lost because someone waited until they felt ready? How many dreams have been abandoned because someone thought they needed more confidence before taking the first step? The reality is that confidence does not come before action. Confidence comes from action. Most people have this process completely backward. They tell themselves, once I feel confident, I'll start. But confidence is earned by doing the very thing you're afraid to do. It is built through experience, not through waiting. Fear is one of the oldest survival mechanisms in the human brain. Its job is to protect you from danger. Thousands of years ago, that fear helped human beings survive real physical threats. But in today's world, fear often appears when there is no actual danger. It shows up when you're about to start a business. It shows up when you're preparing for an important presentation. It shows up when you're pursuing a dream that matters deeply to you. It shows up whenever you're about to leave your comfort zone and step into growth. The problem is that most people interpret fear as a stop sign. They feel nervous and immediately assume they shouldn't move forward. They experience uncertainty and decide they must not be ready. They encounter self-doubt and conclude they aren't. Capable, but mentally strong people see fear differently. They recognize fear as a signal that they are stepping into something important instead of running away from it. They lean into it. Have you ever noticed that the things that scare you the most often have the greatest potential to change your life? The conversation you're afraid to have, the opportunity you're afraid to pursue, the goal you're afraid to commit to, the risk you're afraid to take. On the other side of those fears often lies growth, opportunity, and transformation. Yet most people never discover what's possible because they allow fear to make their decisions for them. Imagine standing at the edge of a new opportunity. Your heart is racing. Your mind is filled with questions. What if I fail? What if people judge me? What if I make a mistake? These thoughts are completely normal. Every person who's ever achieved something meaningful has experienced them. The key is understanding that fear is not a prediction of failure. It is simply a feeling, and feelings should inform your awareness, not control your destiny. One of the greatest mistakes people make is waiting for fear to disappear before taking action. But fear rarely disappears on its own. In fact, fear often grows stronger when ignored. The longer you wait, the bigger the challenge seems. The more you delay, the more powerful your doubts become. Action is what weakens fear. Action is what creates momentum. Action is what transforms uncertainty into confidence. Think back to a time when you were afraid to do something but did it anyway. Maybe it was speaking in front of a group, starting a new job, taking an important exam, or pursuing a major goal. Before you acted, the fear felt overwhelming. But after you took that first step, something changed. You realized you were capable. You discovered that you could handle more than you thought. That's how confidence is built, not by thinking about action, but by taking action. Mentally unbreakable people develop a habit of moving forward even when conditions are not perfect. They understand that waiting for certainty is often a recipe for stagnation. They know that progress belongs to those who are willing to act despite uncertainty. While others hesitate, they move. While others overthink, they execute. While others focus on what could go wrong, they focus on what could go right. Every time you take action in the presence of fear, you send a powerful message to your mind. You prove that fear does not control you. You demonstrate that discomfort is not something to avoid, but something to overcome. You expand your comfort zone and increase your capacity for future challenges. Over time, what once seemed impossible becomes manageable. What once seemed intimidating becomes familiar. The most extraordinary opportunities in life are rarely found inside the boundaries of comfort. They exist beyond hesitation, beyond self-doubt, and beyond the fears that try to hold you back. Every courageous action becomes evidence of your strength, Every step forward becomes proof of your potential. And every time you choose action over fear, you become the kind of person who no longer waits for confidence, but creates it through decisive action, relentless effort, and an unwavering commitment to growth. What if the secret to extraordinary success has nothing to do with motivation? What if the thing that separates high performers from everyone else isn't talent, intelligence, luck, or even opportunity? What if the real difference is something far less exciting, yet infinitely more powerful? It's discipline. The ability to do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. Because here's the truth that most people don't want to hear. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. It rises and falls. Some days you wake up feeling inspired and ready to conquer the world. Other days you feel tired, distracted, and unmotivated. If your success depends on motivation, your results will always be inconsistent. Look at the lives of the most successful people in any field. Whether it's business, sports, leadership, or personal development, you'll find one common trait. They don't rely on their feelings to determine their actions. They rely on their commitments. They understand that emotions are temporary, but standards are permanent. While most people ask themselves, do I feel like doing this today? Disciplined people ask a different question. What must be done today to move closer to my goals? That small shift changes everything. Most people dramatically overestimate what they can accomplish when they're motivated and underestimate what they can accomplish through consistent discipline. They chase moments of inspiration, waiting for the perfect mood, the perfect energy, or the perfect circumstances. But mentally strong individuals know that greatness is rarely built during moments of excitement. It is built during ordinary days when nobody is watching, when the work feels repetitive, and when quitting seems easier than continuing. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to stay committed when everything is going well? It's easy to work hard when results are showing up. It's easy to stay focused when you're winning. It's easy to remain positive when circumstances are favorable. But what happens when progress slows down? What happens when the results don't come as quickly as expected? What happens when you feel exhausted, discouraged, or frustrated? Those are the moments that reveal who you really are. The strongest people understand that success is not determined by what you do occasionally. It is determined by what you do consistently. Anyone can perform well once. Anyone can work hard for a day. Anyone can be focused for a week. But can you remain committed when the excitement fades? Can you continue when the rewards are delayed? Can you keep showing up when nobody is applauding your efforts? That is where discipline becomes your greatest weapon. Discipline is not about being perfect. It is about being reliable. It is about making promises to yourself and keeping them. Every time you follow through on a commitment, you strengthen your self-respect. Every time you do what you said you would do, you build trust in yourself. And confidence, contrary to popular belief, is not built by positive thinking alone. Confidence is built by repeatedly proving to yourself that you can be counted on. One of the biggest reasons people struggle to achieve their goals is because they negotiate with themselves too often. They create excuses that sound reasonable. I'll start tomorrow. I need to be in the right mood. Today isn't the best day. These excuses may provide temporary comfort, but they come at a high price. Every excuse weakens self-discipline. Every delay reinforces the habit of avoidance. Over time, small excuses become major limitations. Mentally unbreakable people refuse to let temporary emotions dictate permanent decisions. They understand that feelings are constantly changing. If they only worked when they felt motivated, they would achieve very little. Instead, they create habits, routines, and standards that keep them moving forward regardless of how they feel. They learn to separate action from emotion. They act because it matters, not because they feel like it. Think about the most important goals in your life: the dream career, the successful business, the strong body, the financial freedom, the meaningful relationships. None of these achievements are built in a single day. They are built through thousands of small actions repeated consistently over time. Every workout, every focused hour, every difficult decision, every moment you choose growth over comfort. These small choices may seem insignificant in isolation, but together they create extraordinary results. The reality is that discipline gives you something motivation never can: stability. When motivation disappears, discipline remains. When circumstances become difficult, discipline keeps you moving. When distractions compete for your attention, discipline keeps you focused on what matters most. It becomes the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. The people who accomplish remarkable things are not always the most gifted. They are often the most disciplined. They have learned how to show up on days when others quit. They have learned how to remain focused when others become distracted. They have learned how to continue moving forward long after the initial excitement has disappeared. And with every disciplined action, they build a mindset that is stronger than excuses, stronger than comfort, and stronger than the challenges that stand between them and the future they're determined to create. What if the biggest limitation in your life is not your circumstances, not your background, not your resources, but the story you keep telling yourself about why you cannot change your life? Think about that for a moment. Every day, millions of people stay stuck in the same place, not because they lack ability, but because they refuse to take ownership of their situation. They point fingers. They blame others. They blame timing, luck, family, society, or the system. But here's the truth that separates those who stay stuck from those who rise. The moment you take full responsibility for your life, you take back your power. Most people live in a mindset of partial responsibility. They accept responsibility for their effort when things go right, but quickly shift blame when things go wrong. If they succeed, they say, I worked hard for this. And if they fail, they say it wasn't my fault. But mentally strong individuals operate differently. They take ownership of everything in their life, even the parts that are uncomfortable to accept. Not because they caused everything, but because they understand something powerful. If you take responsibility, you also gain the ability to change it. Let me ask you something directly. How long will you wait for your life to improve if you keep believing that someone else is responsible for fixing it? How long will you wait for the perfect opportunity, the perfect support, or the perfect timing? The truth is, waiting keeps you powerless. Responsibility gives you control. The moment you say, this is my life and it is my responsibility to improve it, something shifts inside you. You stop being a spectator and start becoming a creator. Look at the most successful people in any field. They do not waste time blaming. They do not sit around waiting for rescue. They focus on what they can control. They ask, what can I do right now, instead of why is this happening to me? That question alone changes everything. One question leads to helplessness. The other leads to action. One keeps you stuck in the past. The other moves you toward the future. Many people underestimate how powerful excuses can be. Excuses feel harmless in the moment. They protect your ego. They make you feel better temporarily. But over time, excuses quietly destroy your potential. Every excuse you accept becomes a barrier you reinforce. Every time you say, I can't because of this situation, you strengthen the identity of limitation. And eventually, you stop seeing possibilities altogether. Mentally unbreakable people refuse to build their identity around excuses. Instead, they build their identity around accountability. If something goes wrong, they don't immediately search for someone to blame. They search for what can be learned. They understand that ownership does not mean self-blame. It means self-empowerment. It means recognizing that even if you didn't cause every problem, you are still responsible for your response to it. Imagine how your life would change if you fully accepted that you are the primary driver of your future. Imagine no longer giving away your power to external circumstances. Imagine waking up every day with the mindset that your actions, your decisions, and your discipline are the deciding factors of your success. That shift alone can transform your entire trajectory. One of the most powerful realizations in life is this: you cannot control everything that happens, but you can always control what you do next. You cannot change the past, but you can take responsibility for shaping the future, and that responsibility is where true freedom begins. Because when you own your life completely, you no longer feel like a victim of circumstances. You begin to see yourself as the architect of your results. People often wait for motivation, inspiration, or external support before taking action. But those who take responsibility do not wait. They move, they adjust, they learn, they adapt. They understand that progress is not about having perfect conditions. It is about making consistent decisions under imperfect conditions. And every time they choose responsibility over blame, they grow stronger, more capable, and more confident in their ability to handle life. At some point, every person must face a simple but uncomfortable truth. Your life is the result of your choices. Not all of them, but most of them. And the moment you accept that truth without resistance, you gain access to a level of power that excuses can never give you. Because now, instead of asking who is responsible for your situation, you begin asking what you can do to change it. And that shift is where transformation begins. What if the difference between the life you are living and the life you dream of is not talent, not luck, not opportunity, but simply your refusal to quit? Think about that for a moment. Most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they stop too early. They quit right before the breakthrough. They give up right before the shift happens, and they never even realize how close they were. Every single person who has achieved something extraordinary has one thing in common that cannot be ignored. They kept going when it would have been easier to stop. They stayed in the game when others walked away. They pushed forward when results were not visible, and they refused to let temporary pain define a permanent outcome. That is not talent. That is not luck. That is persistence under pressure. Let me ask you something directly. How many times in your life have you been one step away from a breakthrough, but you quit because it felt too hard? How many dreams have you abandoned not because they were impossible, but because the process felt uncomfortable? This is where most people lose their future. Not in one big failure, but in a series of small surrenders. The truth is simple but powerful. Life will test your commitment before it rewards your consistency. Every goal worth achieving comes with resistance. The bigger the goal, the heavier the resistance. And that resistance is not there to stop you. It is there to strengthen you. But most people misinterpret resistance as a sign to quit, when in reality, it is a sign that they are getting closer to something meaningful. Think about any skill, any success, any transformation. At the beginning, progress feels slow, effort feels heavy, results feel invisible. This is the point where most people walk away. But those who succeed understand something critical. Early discomfort is not failure. It is formation. It is a stage where identity is being built, where discipline is being shaped, where resilience is being trained. Mentally unbreakable people do not rely on emotional certainty. They do not wait until they feel confident to continue. They continue until confidence is built. They understand that feelings are temporary, but results are cumulative. Every time they choose to continue, they are building evidence that they are stronger than their circumstances. Have you ever noticed that right before something changes in your life, things often get harder? It is almost as if life pushes back one last time to see if you are serious. That final resistance is where most people break, but the ones who refuse to quit break through. And on the other side of that resistance is growth they could never have accessed without persistence. Quitting always feels like relief in the moment. It removes pressure, it removes discomfort, it creates temporary emotional comfort. But that comfort comes at a cost. The cost of potential, the cost of progress, the cost of the future you were capable of creating. And most people don't realize that when they quit, they are not just stopping effort, they are stopping evolution. Mentally strong individuals develop a different relationship with difficulty. Instead of seeing it as a signal to stop, they see it as a signal to adjust, adapt, and continue. They understand that failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of success. Every setback contains information. Every delay contains redirection. Every obstacle contains an invitation to grow. Stronger. Imagine the version of you that never gives up. The version that keeps showing up when it's hard. The version that continues when motivation disappears. The version that treats every setback as a reason to push harder. Instead of step back, that version of you does not just achieve goals, it transforms identity. The reality is this. Most people overestimate what they can achieve in a short burst of effort, but underestimate what they can achieve through relentless persistence. They think success comes from intensity, when in truth, it comes from endurance. It is not about how fast you move, but how long you refuse to stop moving. Every time you survive a moment where you wanted to quit but didn't, you expand your limits. You stretch your capacity. You strengthen your mindset. And slowly over time, you become someone who's no longer defined by circumstances, but by consistency. Someone who cannot be easily broken because they have trained themselves to keep going when everything inside them says, stop. And that is where real power is built. Not in the moments of ease, but in the moments when you decide again and again that no matter how hard it gets, you are not done yet. And as I leave you with this final thought, remember this. Life will test you. People will doubt you. Circumstances will challenge you. But none of those things have the power to destroy you unless you give them permission. You are stronger than you think. You are more resilient than you realize. You have survived every difficult day you've ever faced, and you're still standing here. Let that be proof of your strength. Stand up, raise your standards, refuse to quit, refuse to surrender, refuse to let temporary pain steal your permanent potential. Because the strongest version of you is waiting on the other side of adversity. And when you commit to becoming mentally unbreakable, there's absolutely nothing that can stop you from achieving greatness.